people watching before we actually start this?
You are live.
Now just go to the comment. Yeah, we can monitor comments. Yeah.
That's the answer.
Yeah. Good. Very good.
Okay.
We don't know if anyone's there.
Yeah.
So yes, this is everybody's first time on a Hands Across the Water live.
That's right.
Yes.
So
Welcome.
it's like
You're on.
live and live.
Live, double live.
It's twofold.
We're live here, and we're live on YouTube.
Yes.
Right,
So,
in
yes.
the flesh and on camera in virtual land.
Right.
Yeah. How many people are watching us? 2.
2 people.
Well, listen.
Hey guys.
Oh,
Photo shoot opportunity.
yeah, right.
Yeah. Hello, Joe. Joe Mantaneo is online.
Joe Mentonet, hello.
Hi,
Thanks
Joe.
for sticking with us
Gonna
here.
manage
Yes.
live comments. I will do that, and everybody here in the room. You want to start it off? Might as well.
Are we ready?
Let's
ready?
do it.
Okay.
2 minutes. We're ready to start. Fire it up.
I'm not sure if we need the microphone, to be absolutely honest, but we'll do.
Might as well.
No, for the recording too.
Yeah.
All right.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the debut of Hands Across the Water at the Fest. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming. We are a fairly new podcast. We've been going maybe 4 months, something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that. And
April.
we're an intercontinental. So I'm from the UK. My 2 buddies here are from the US, and an intergenerational podcast, because I'm in my 60s and he's in his 40s, Carl's in his 20s, so we get this great overview of the same topic from different perspectives, and that's kind of what we're about. Today's show is going to be debunking Beatles myths. So I'm sure you've all got 1 or 2 favourites. We've got a lovely. It's a small audience, but perfectly formed, I would say.
Quality over quantity.
Perfectly
Absolutely.
formed. Yeah. So let me introduce my my co-hosts. On my left, Carl Hand from Brooklyn.
Yes, thank you. Yes. Thank you, Chicago. Yeah, I'm ready to bust some Beatles myths and maybe make some new ones.
I think it's always worth pointing out that we're not called Hands Across the Water because we've got someone called Hand on the panel. It's because I'm in the UK, they're in the US. And on my right, your left, Andy Nichols, as you know, from the Two Legs podcast.
A hand and a leg. See, it works.
And a toe.
A hand, a leg,
and a leg, and we're separated by water too, so it really does work, Kyle and I.
The Hudson River?
That's right, baby. So it is truly across the water, and I'm happy to be here for our first ever panel at a fest, here with our buddy who came all the way over from the UK to be here to connect with us and share and do all this great stuff with us. So I'm happy to be here on a Sunday to kick around and do it. Hello, Scott. Welcome. And happy to be here and just kick it around. And again, it's been a busy couple of months for our show. We've kicked around some really great things. We've done some deep dives. We've done some live stuff. Our most recent video was that Billy Joel myth, which we're going to get to today, about his White Album take, which I'm sure will come up at some point today. But yeah, let's kick it around.
So picture this panel as you're at the office and you're at the water cooler. Everybody knows the water cooler, right? And somebody's telling you, you like the Beatles? Yeah, I like a couple of their songs. And it's like, well, it's really a shame that Yoko broke up the Beatles, right? Well, now this panel, we're going to be debunking those big myths like that, from big common ones like that to smaller ones that are more interesting to nerdy folks like us. So,
Right.
Tony?
So, should we start there?
You want to start with the basic, the old tried and true by Yoko?
Let's have a little poll from the audience.
And be honest.
Does anyone believe that Yoko broke up the Beatles?
Be honest.
You do, Scott. At first.
Influence is fair word.
Speak up a bit. Okay.
They want to hear you in English.
Anyone else? for Yoko? No.
Well, I think the reason it's such a prevalent myth is because a lot of people may have thought that at first. That was the story for so long.
Yeah, she's
Yes.
you know, she's a very strong personality. She's a little bit controversial. She does have a tendency to sit on amplifiers. She does scream a lot. But you know, when you look at where the Beatles were when Yoko came onto the scene, sort of 1968, we know, you know, during the recording of the White Album, we know that Ringo wasn't happy, walked out for a little while, and you know, lots of, you know, little bits of musical disagreements, there's business disagreements going on with the you know, the forming of Apple and things like that. And you know, I always think that probably more than Yoko, I think Alan Klein had a much bigger impact on the division between Paul and the other three. What do you think, Andy?
I think the short answer is no, but she didn't help the situation. And if we're being practical, you know, no one person can break it up. I think Alan Klein, as Tony just mentioned, is the outlier for reasons that, you know, Paul tells that classic story about every decision we made was democratic. If one person ever strayed from it, we didn't do it. In that situation, that didn't happen, right? And that was where the crack started. I mean, but it was easy to, in pre-internet, pre-everything, media in our face, it was very easy to just have her be the sole person.
She was the symbol.
And she's not. Is she part of the story? Yes, that's my opinion.
I think that she was really like a symptom of the disease that was already killing the
Festering.
Beatles, right?
It was festering.
You know, I mean, I think that there's a lot of other kind of like cultural reasons why you might want to blame Yoko specifically and not Linda, you know?
Yeah.
Because when you think about it, after the Beatles broke up, they both made music with their wives.
Right, and
So-
leaned heavily on them.
So I think it was more so, you know, that's why that later period of the Beatles is so interesting to people like us who love their solo careers as well. Because it's not a clean break between Let It Be is released and then, you know, they just suddenly start their solo careers.
Right.
It was like they were already plotting to go on their own ways. George is already writing All Things Must Pass. You know, Paul is using songs from the Let It Be sessions on the McCartney album. So I think it was the beginning of their solo careers where we see them, you know, start to work with you know, Yoko and Linda, etc.
Yeah.
And it's interesting when you talk about the comparison between Yoko and Linda, because we see in, you know, in the Let It Be film and in the Get Back film that Linda was also in the studio, but it's always kind of, well, Yoko she was always there, she was always in the studio, and she was there more than Linda, but no one ever kind of makes that reference to the fact that Linda was there as well, and the kids.
Yeah.
Well, Heather anyway.
Yeah.
What do you all think?
That's the little one, not the big
Yeah.
horrible one.
Tony, what do you think, man?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Alan Klein, Tony asked, is Alan Klein more to blame for the breakup than Yoko? Yes, 1,000%.
100%. Lynette.
But think if Yoko had never come into John's life, she's over in Japan, and they never meet, and he never becomes obsessed with her. I mean, I think they were already trending, you know, to split. But would they have, or would they have done it so quickly and abruptly? Would they have fallen in with Klein?
So that's a great what if.
Yeah.
If Yoko had never met John, how differently would this play out?
Well, I think what happened. I think with the death of Brian Epstein, that was really the end, the game changer, right? That happens and everything changes. Yoko, once he's gone, Yoko could, you know, if Yoko doesn't come into 5 down the line, I think that they eventually are gonna fall apart because they couldn't sustain it. They could not sustain what they had, you know, built. They were not businessmen. It was gonna happen eventually. I think Yoko maybe accelerated it a little bit, but
Yeah, it couldn't support its own weight.
no.
I think it was more that, you know, maybe there was some jealousy there that you know, that John was very, you know, very into Yoko. Paul and Linda were just starting around that sort of time, but We know that Ringo and Maureen weren't, so happy, nor George and Patty. It's very difficult to say, but they definitely needed someone to take the reins as far as the business went. Once Brian had gone, they just picked the wrong bloke.
Yeah.
That's the problem, because that caused the division where you had three of them on one side and one on the other, and there was not really any coming back from that. So my opinion is that Alan Klein is more to blame, but it's a combination of things. It is a combination of things. So no one's really to blame. Should we move on to
one more comment. We'll
yeah,
move
sure.
on.
I mean, as a kid, I never thought that Yoko was a problem, only because if John loved her, then I loved her.
Yeah.
I love that.
That was how I had to look at it.
Sure.
Any step parent will know. All right, if my mom loves you, then I guess I have to.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I've always said as well, that if you don't understand Yoko, then you don't understand John. You can't have one without the other. You can't have one without the other.
But their solo careers with that, I think they were destined for greater things. And I don't know that, like, to piggyback on your comments about they were kind of going that way anyway. Right?
Mhm.
And I don't think anything was going to stop those trains.
No.
Yes.
Whether it was a Yoko or any other woman or partner of any kind like that.
By that time, they were so.
I think it was our.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tom, and then the gentleman in the
I
back.
think there's two other factors that we got to look at as well. One, Rolling Stones Rock and Roll Circus and the revival show that John does both of those. And he plays with other people and he's like, what's this? Oh my God. And I think that was also a factor in accelerating the breakup.
Yeah, maybe, but you've also got George that goes out on tour with Delaney and Bonnie
Mhm.
as well. So he's
Yeah.
he's spreading his wings and playing with other musicians as well.
They're all itching to do their own things. I mean, I think that the best thing that ever happened to the Beatles is them breaking up.
Yeah.
Like I would not want, what is it called, the Hackney Diamonds Rolling Stones thing. I mean, no hate on that. I'd much more rather have Ringo making his thing, Paul making his thing, and we have so much there with the solo careers, all because they did the mature thing. They didn't worry about
That's a hot take.
Yeah.
well, that's what you come to expect of Hands Across the Water.
It's a hot
Yeah.
take.
It's
So-
it's also something that I've also thought as well, because I'm a second generation Beatles fan, so they'd already gone by the time I arrived at the Beatles, they'd already split up by about 6 years ago. But I just I realised that first generation fans were just a little bit salty about them breaking up in 1970. But when you come to it from a second generation Beatles fans
Really happy.
point of view, you've got, instead of getting one album a year, you're getting 4 albums a year.
Love it.
So
And Ringo's on all of them.
Yeah.
and Ringo's on all of them.
Gentleman in the
Yeah.
red shirt had a question.
Oh, I was just going to say regarding Yoko, patriarchal society romanticizes the Fab Four, and well, it must be a woman who took a man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The femme fatale.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jeremy.
Jeremy.
Just to play on Kyle's point is, you go out on top, you have an album with 3 #1 hits, that's what has people yearning always for more. Boy, what other band did that? I mean, there's been a few that have, but I mean, the Fabs, I mean, that's just incredible. That's what I look at. It's like, well, you didn't go out with some shitty release or whatever. You got a massive 3 #1 hit album, so enough said.
Totally.
Yes, John.
I think growing up broke up.
Growing up
Them
broke up the
growing up.
Beatles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think about it, 15 years old they're about 30 when they call it a day. It's a long time. We get spoiled by it because it's like, oh my God, you're only together, you only did 8 years of recorded activity. But 57 to 1970, that's what people don't realize.
Yeah.
And especially in this country, Ed Sullivan, 64, by that point, they already had 7 or 8 years together, working, trying to come together. Scotty. Yeah, we touched upon that before. So we move on.
Shall we move on?
Another myth.
What would you like?
How about Ringo?
Ringo.
Because Tony is a resident drummer here.
Okay. Let's talk talk about Ringo. We've got two Ringo myths actually. We've got
Yeah.
two Ringo myths. So, one of the things that gets quoted a lot is Ringo was really lucky. He's the luckiest man on earth to be around at that time. He gets into the Beatles, and he's so underappreciated as a drummer because firstly, the main job of a drummer is to be the timekeeper, and he is probably the greatest timekeeping drummer there has ever been. We've heard George Martin say that they can, when they were editing takes together, they could take one take and another take that happened, 20 minutes later or something like that, and edit them together because Ringo's drumming was so spot on that, it was like playing to a click track. And he was never, never a flamboyant drummer like, say, Keith Moon or John Bonham. But what he did was fantastic and was perfect for that band. So inventive. If you look at, some of the really unusual grooves that he came up with, like Ticket to Ride, something like that, which is just a song. It's a straightforward song in 4/4, which you could just play on the hi-hat and the snare like most drummers probably would. But no, he goes kick drum, snare, top tom tom, kick drum, snare, top tom tom. Very different, and gives that song a completely different feel, much heavier feel to that song. And he did all sorts of, you can look at songs like Rain, where he's just absolutely outstanding. Strawberry Fields Forever, again, very inventive on that. Anyway.
So another point, because Tony can speak to his drumming prowess, which I can only appreciate and cannot speak to. What I can speak to is Ringo's personality, because for them coming to America, in the early 60s, this whole concept of this four-headed monster is fairly new. You have Buddy Holly and the Crickets.
Well,
you have Elvis as a standalone guy, right? To have each person have not only uniquely talented, but also have their own personalities. That's something that Pete Best just couldn't bring to the band. And even today, we love Ringo doing his jumping jacks and posting emojis of broccoli. This is who he is, and that's the Beatles would not have been the same. I think he elevated them in that manner. I mean, he was the star of the movies,
right? And he was the best drummer in Liverpool. And Pete Best was more of a convenient fill-in. They had a gig to go to Hamburg. We need a drummer. You have a kit. You're in. That was basically why he was there.
Yeah.
Because how many people had a kit? Okay, Alan Williams had already signed him to go to Hamburg, and okay, you've got a kit. You're going to come along. You're fine.
And his mother owned a bar or something too.
Yeah. So they had free rehearsal space. That was. But you only have to listen to something like the Decca auditions or some of the tracks that are on Anthology 1 that Pete Best drums on, and there is a clear deficiency in his ability. That's for sure.
They made good on that though. They paid him well.
That
stuff on Anthology.
Yeah, he finally got paid when Anthology 1 came out. He made about £500,000.
The story I heard in Liverpool was that they said, Paul said, I've got £8 million here that can go to the tax man, or we can give it to Pete Best.
Yeah.
And Paul said, give it to Pete Best. So that was what was told to me in Liverpool from my tutor at the time. So if that's true, then good on Paul for taking care of Pete Best 30 years later.
Did you ever see the clip it might have been like the Mazelstock, the Beatles' first US visit, where they're interviewing the girls and one of them says, Ringo's got a sexy nose. So you tell me right place, right time.
Yeah. You mentioned the Decca audition. That's a good kind of segue to our next one that Tony kind of thought up about. You want to talk about the Decca audition myth?
Yeah. So we all know the story. We all know the story that the Beatles auditioned for Decca on 1st of January 1962 and were turned down by Dick Rowe, who was the Decca A&R man. And you all know the quotes. Guitar bands are on the way out. Well, a couple of years ago, I went to see a show that was done by Mark Lewison. It was called Evolver 62, where he told 62 stories about what happened to the Beatles in 1962. And the one, 62 stories was just like too much for my brain, my old brain to take away. But the one that I did take away was the one that caused an absolute gasp from the audience when he told this story, and that was that following the audition,